here's Josh Cary and David Bates.
Oh, yeah, everybody knows you're going to time to climb the street. John, on clock and sit in the backyard.
David, why don't you take over there for a second?
Okay, well, I don't know if I'm a whole lot better. We got a little mic issue with Josh. Yep. See if it plugged in good back there.
There I am.
Oh, someone messed with the cables.
No, it wasn't me. I just moved one. Anyway, it's Saturday morning. It's time for the At Home Show. It's a Saturday morning tradition, and it comes to you live from the green room here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. 0.9 miles north of Bradley Parkway at exit 19.
Everybody else knows it's a mile.
It's worth the drive from anywhere. Hey, we're here for you. Share it out there on Facebook. Go out there and like us on YouTube and subscribe and do everything because it's Saturday morning. It's probably going to be what David and I call a planning day today.
Well, you might not be planning all day. I think if you can get out early enough this morning, you're going to be able to have some opportunity to actually get out and do some outdoor shopping if that's what you're into today. Today, of course, is Saturday, October the 10th. Showers and possibly a thunderstorm. I'd say it's almost probably. Low about 67 degrees. Winds will be out of the east at 10 to 15 miles an hour with gusts as high as 25 miles an hour. That will be, as we get on into the latter part of the day, 90% chance of precipitation, in which I think we've already had rain, so I'm going to go ahead and call it 100%.
But since we've already had rain.
I mean,
it's not a chance. It's what we're
and
doing.
Additional rainfall amounts, probably 3/4 to an additional inch. I've looked at some rain south of us, and it could be more than that. So, there is always a chance of localized flooding. So just be weather aware, as always, on Sunday. Showers and possibly a thunderstorm, high of 78 degrees, and we're going to have a bit more rain, maybe another 1/10 or 1/1500ths of an inch. But it will begin to wane as the remnants of Hurricane Delta move on out of the area by Tuesday. Looks to be 74 degrees. And, this rain, while it's inconvenient that it's happening on a weekend, is much needed.
Yes, it is.
74, 50 on Tuesday, 79, 58 on Wednesday, 79, 48 on Thursday, Friday. Look at that, 59, 40, and partly cloudy. So it's, we're definitely moving on into the latter part. The 15th of October is our average first frost date. It doesn't look like we're going to get that widespread. Now, we've already had a light frost here at the nursery. It's currently 62 degrees. We're going to take a moment and look at the radar out there over the entire southeastern United States, or mostly the whole eastern U.S. Put this in motion here so you can see what's
Looks like there might have been a hurricane or something.
It does look that way there. It doesn't look like it's moving really. So that's how slow it's moving. I think there's something wrong with my little widget here. Yes, it's
Widget
not.
gadget?
It's not doing what it's supposed to do. Let me refresh that.
I've
See if
heard
I can-
as much as 3 inches of rain today.
and I'm more in agreement with that because it just seems that one of the things that always concerns me is when they start reducing the amount of precipitation forecast.
They did that one year in 2010. You remember? I think it was in May of 2010.
In 2015, we had 2017, I should say, we had Hurricane Harvey come through here, and we got 10 inches of rain in about a 5-hour period of time. So, as you can see, there's a big band coming up out of the south, and that's going to be moving right over into
what
the
kind
middle.
of band? Is it a rock and roll band, country band?
Unfortunately, it's a band that will not contain Eddie Van Halen, who we lost this week.
My goodness.
So we'll talk more about that. But anyways, currently 62 degrees. It's going to be mild conditions through the weekend, and we're getting some much-needed rain, maybe a little bit more than what you would like to have, but that's just the way it is. So
615-499-6690. That's the number to interact with the At Home program because we are alive, and even though you can watch us 24 hours a day and now, which is a good thing, we're here for you. And, if you go out to the Facebook page, it's the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates. You can post questions there. You can follow us there, and we won't bother you too much. I mean, there's usually just 1 or 2 posts a week, depending upon what strikes the administrator's fancy. But
and that would be Josh, by the way.
Okay. It's been a while since there have been any kitty videos. So, I mean, we're overdue for a kitty video, David. So, but this week we actually posted something about what we would be doing upcoming, and we've already gotten a question, and it was from Kit Sherman. And Kit is wanting advice on planting a hydrangea on an east wall that gets about 6 hours of sunlight a day. Sounds like a perfect spot to me.
It does indeed. Now, there was no mention as to specifically what kind of hydrangea. I'm assuming it's talking about a garden hydrangea, which is the hydrangea macrophylla, which is the big leaf or garden hydrangea. Those are the ones that have a variety of colors of flowers, white, pink, blue, and all shades in between. So there's a lot of color variations for those. The ideal spot for them is where they get morning sun and shade in the afternoon. They're not particularly sun tolerant in the hot part of the day, and the eastern exposure affords you those conditions exactly.
No, the proximity to the wall that Kit is talking about. Would you want to put this up against the house?
Yeah, on the east side, it should not matter.
Okay.
Now, what you will notice on the big leaf type of garden hydrangeas is that when it's really hot, even if the soil is not dry, you'll see them wilt when they're in too hot of a spot, and they simply cannot transpire the water, or can't bring the water up as fast, I should say, as they transpire it out of the leaves. So consequently, the turgor pressure drops, and it makes them appear to wilt.
I hate that when that happens.
So that's what happens. But eastern exposure should be a great spot for it.
Now, do we have to worry about the, we used to talk about the, what were they, red tip photinias that everybody used to plant right up at the house, and then the gutter would lean over on top of them, and they would cause some sort of fungal problem?
Well, red tip photinias, while they're still used, it's pretty sparingly anymore, and they do have the notorious endomosporium leaf spot, which is really problematic.
I thought we had it eradicated.
Now, and you will still see even old red tip photinias in a landscape, but there'll always be solitary ones. There won't be multiple ones, and the reason being is they're so susceptible to that pathogen that it really affects them badly. But occasionally you get one that has none other around anywhere that has a good clean spot. They live and do well. So the use of them as a hedging plant back during the 70s and 80s kind of revealed that.
Came as a set with the green carpet and the avocado appliances.
Exactly,
right?
and dwarf Burford hollies and variegated monkey grass. That's what that was. When you knew you were in,
right?
That's what you landscaped with. And strangely enough, with as much variety of plants as we carry today, it seems peculiar. But we used to buy full trailer loads of red tip photinias. I mean,
pack them on.
They'd be fully loaded, nose to tail, nothing but red tips. That's how many we would sell, and consequently. Not just here, but everywhere else they are sold. Their use became greatly diminished simply because it takes way too much maintenance to keep them clean, whether they look nice. So we still sell a few.
Didn't you mention that this one behind me is a photinia?
That is a winter tour viburnum.
Viburnum,
right?
Okay.
And then what makes that plant really nice, apart from the fact that you see it's got some nice scarlet foliage developing on it for this time of year, it's really adept at dealing with wet spots. So if you have a place that kind of has poor drainage, it's a really good selection for that. It also has enough open growth habit, and it has a smoother leaf, where most of your viburnums have the kind of itchy, you get in there and try to trim them like on the leatherleaf viburnum, it will make your skin crawl. It's almost like putting in insulation. So you know what I'm talking about. That's not a good feeling.
No, it's not. 615-499-6690.
Now, Josh, last week, at the very end of the show, you started talking about stain.
And then I had to cut him off.
And, yeah, Michael just cut you off. And we barely got started, and before you knew it, the show was over.
Oh, yeah,
we didn't
Josh just didn't keep up with the time. I can't help that.
So that's why I'm trying to bring it up early in the program today to give us a chance to kind of recap what he was getting at, because application of stain is a really important thing for a lot of folks that have decking around the house and they want to keep it looking nice. And once you kind of commit to the staining process, you are
need
committed.
to follow through.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we could go to HDMI Dose Duo. This is the product that we were talking about last week, which was the deck over, the advanced deck over from
Not to be confused with the mulch over.
The mulch over. No, the mulch over is you know what the mulch over is. Okay. For those in the audience who don't know, former producer and radio legend, the round mound of sound himself, Chris Ladd, his finishing move in the ring is the mulch over. He comes off the middle rope. He can't get to the top rope. So he comes up. You might kill somebody if you did it. But the mulch over is is his finishing move. But this product, my bride and I have been working on this deck area, this outdoor living area, all year long. I mean, literally since it got warm, we've been working through some different things, and the process that we had started with some deck boards that had failed, and they call it degradation, and we had to replace those. We've been through this. You've seen them through the summer, but the finishing process is this advanced deck over product. It's available in a pretty good palette, color palette. We have two. We chose two because it was harder to do two colors, one on the rail and one on the deck itself. But you go through a cleaning process, you go through a stripping process first, then the cleaning process, and then you have to make sure it gets good and dry, which has been great this last few weeks. We finished up last week, and I'm impressed. Now, we'll see in the long run how it holds up, but it has a very good reputation for long-term durability. But it's like painting with cake batter, folks. I mean, it is that thick. It is not very... it's not very economically priced. But for what you get, if it performs as what it says, I think it's going to be of value. But it'll shock you when you get to the checkout board. Now let's go back and I will show you. I asked. This is a much better view of the finished product. Now there are a few leaves out there because it rained last night, but as you can see, it is a very monochromatic kind of a look. It is it's a pretty, it's a pretty finish, and you can see the two different colors. We've got the rail as one, and then the decking is another.
Well, they both are a gray.
Gray.
So it's a
Very
light
neutral.
gray and a dark gray.
We had pewter and something.
Well, and your home is kind of a blue gray, is it not?
Well, the proving grounds is he's using a color called Langdon Dove, which is a bluish grayish
Langdon
green.
Dove.
Yeah. Hey, come on. You got to have.
It sounds really good.
Sounds like a name a
Well, it's
man
like
didn't
your
come
light
up
bulbs
with.
that we put up in the studio. And by the way, David has once again embellished the green room here. and
Well,
he's
we've tried to create the illusion of professionalism, and occasionally we get confused.
an illusion that you can do. But
That deck over stuff, after last week's show, my mom actually went out and got some, and she painted her back deck with it.
Did she go through the stripping process?
Oh, it was just raw boards.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Now,
Were they good and dry?
oh yeah, they were good and dry.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's one of the mistakes that
She said it was like brownie batter.
you have
Oh,
to.
it's amazing how heavy that can of paint is. I mean,
And one of the things that you illustrated, I don't know if you still have that photograph, Josh, of where you had some cracks in the boards that it was shrinkage due to just aging process,
seasoning cracks,
and the material has such thickness to it that you're able to fill. It's like you've gone in there and done some putty work almost.
And part of their claim is that it will fill these cracks up to 1/4 of an inch. And as you can see on the seasoning here, there were a few.
Oh yeah, there's a couple.
Well,
but the
if you
finished
lay out in the
product,
sun for 14 years, well, are you going to have a little seasoning on you as
yeah,
well?
I would think so. Yes.
Do you got any pictures of the finished product?
That's what I just showed you earlier.
Well, let's go back. Can you go back to that one then?
I mean, of like
So
that specific board to see if the seasoning cracks.
No, I did not bring that. I didn't do all my homework this week, so but it was a little dark this morning. I actually thought about it, but let's see if we can see a different
just
view.
get us one that's close. That's
Well, you can see this is in close proximity.
well.
This is back to
Obviously,
the
it has diminished them greatly, and it hasn't totally removed them, but
Oh yeah, I mean, it looks like
you'll
solid.
Yeah, it is almost as if you went in there and you did use a filler or a caulking compound of some sort to go with it. Now, again, we'll see in the long term if it seems to have enough elasticity that it will expand and contract with the heating and cooling cycles. It looked to me a bit plastic this morning because the light was just right on it and there was a little moisture on it. And
speaking of moisture, what about traction on it when it's wet? How was that?
Well, we had a discussion, and the project manager chose the smooth finish,
Which
which
decreases adhesion.
Yeah, probably. But any deck that is smooth, when it gets wet, whether you've got a semi-transparent oil stain on it or it's a painted surface, and you get moisture between your shoes or your feet, particularly Crocs, ladies and gentlemen, they're not exactly the most.
That's good enough reason to not wear Crocs.
There's never a good reason not to wear Crocs.
Oh no.
But you'll see that you'll see that it will be a little bit slick. But that's just being careful around the pool. You don't run around the pool, Dave.
Slick tire finish.
You went to the old fairgrounds, and I bet you got yelled at for running around the swimming pool.
Oh, over at Cascade Plunge, you did not run. You never ran at the old Cascade Plunge.
So you don't jump into the pool, okay? Because it's not very deep, so it's not like you're going off the high diving board. But I'm impressed, and we'll see how it shows out in the future. So, but mother-in-law liked it.
Oh yeah, well, my mom, not my mother-in-law.
Mama liked it.
Oh yeah, she they painted when they painted the porch with it like a couple of years ago. I didn't realize that was the product they were using. She had some left over. She just had it shaken up and then right on. Looked good.
Now, there are. Again, there are. You go to the paint store, and if you haven't been to a paint store, it's a little different than walking into a paint department at a box store. Folks in paint departments are great people. But there are so many different types of product that are used, from the sealants that are, because caulking is a great thing to have, and it's a painter's friend. That makes all things like happy. But whether you're using a branded product or a mixture of the brands, because there are a lot. David and I were talking before the show, and it was a little bit like show prep. We have to be real careful about that.
We don't do that.
No, but the number of labels.
I think that's pretty obvious.
Yeah, the number of labels is diminishing, and some of the old brands.
And when you say that, there's just not as many different manufacturers as there once was.
And it may be
consolidation is kind of the way all things go, and it's not. The painting industry is not the exception.
No, it's not. So, and you can't have the same thing at Big Orange that you have at Big Blue, and Big Blue can't be with and
at least it can't appear to be the same.
Yeah, they'll change a model number on something. I don't know if they do that.
I have actually seen, take it for instance, DeWalt tools that both of those stores sell, but they're not exactly the same because there's a number difference. If you took them out and didn't see the numbers, all you know by the number is that you bought it from here or you bought it from there. They're exactly the same other than that.
Legend has it, and I have this upon pretty good authority, they do that because they don't want to get into the price matching wars.
Right. So they can both say, nope, this is...
It's a different product.
It's a different model.
Yeah,
right.
Back in the 80s, there was the old JR 3000 Makita reciprocating saw started this process. And
that was one that was all inline and the handle was,
still a great tool.
The 9.2 volt battery
No, it was a corded. It was a corded product, but it was if you couldn't afford a Milwaukee, you got the JR 3000V. Right. So I mean, but it started with a new bunch of stores opening in the Charleston, South Carolina market, and I think it took over the whole Southeast because it sold for, if memory serves, around $149. Still not a bad price, but I think.
Well, and if you take care of it.
But if you started going 10% with this way and 10% for this way and 10% for this way, and the guy was calling in somebody in Smyrna, and I believe they got down to where they were being retailed for about $49.
Yeah. Well, that means when problems arise that somebody's not covered.
And you don't play those games. But anyway, that's a different time.
Now, before we move away from the staining and or painting conversation,
okay,
what percent of importance do you place on preparation before you start applying the product to the surface?
Well, if you want success, you need to follow the instructions. I mean, they come with it's just like labels on chemicals that you use around the garden. There are all kinds of things that you should do.
Are you suggesting the directions should be followed?
If you want success, I mean, now does it really make any? If you go to a glyphosate product, for example, if it says you use 3 teaspoons per gallon or 2.5 teaspoons per gallon, I think in most of them, if you use 5 in that gallon, does it do you any good?
Well, in that particular instance, depending on what the application is, the answer could be yes.
Could be.
But because there are high-low rates with respect to herbicide. So if you were spraying for an easy to...
but a fungicide, or it just...
normally you want to follow it. It's only going to give you one rate if you're spraying for a specific thing.
So you're wasting your money. So
effectively, yes, you're just putting more out there. More is not always better.
Now, if you're paying in this example, if you're paying around $36 per gallon for 75 square feet of coverage, do you see how big the deck is?
Right.
Okay.
How many gallons?
It was a bunch. Let's put it to you this way: it was several.
Was the overall cost of stain north or south of $300?
Oh,
way north, way north.
Yeah, we're Arctic Circle type stuff here. Because if you get the whole process going along with it, it works out to be a couple of dollars, almost $3 a square foot, if you think about it. Think about it and do that just in one mathematical calculation.
Yeah.
So is it a good idea to, if it says use a stripper, get the old stuff off, let it dry out, make sure it's good and clean, then you come in with their cleaning solution, and some of this may be marketing.
Now, when you say stripper, you're talking about a chemical stripping
stripping agent.
That is designed to release the old finish off of it.
You scrub the old stain. You scrub the old finishes off, because again, in this case, there were probably from start to finish about 3 layers.
So there were a lot of people would be tempted. They have the pressure sprayers that they use at home. You have an issue with that at all?
I'm not personally a big fan of using a pressure washer on a wood.
It does throw the little chips of paint everywhere.
It gets a bunch of that stuff off of there, but it also raises the grain, and it also tends to damage the fibers even a little bit.
Fuzzy on the surface.
A little bit fuzzier. So yeah, it's your deck. You can do what you want to with it, and if you're going to use the fan,
if you're going to buy a pressure washer, the first thing you do is you take the little bullet nozzle. That's the one that shoots a straight stream, and you throw it in the trash. Yeah. Get rid of it. Never use it, because you can etch concrete with that.
Oh, it'll cut toes off with them if you're not real careful.
Yes,
literally.
Yes, it can be quite dangerous. So you just don't even have that thing in the arsenal.
And stay back. And I would use that as a part of the. I would still use the chemical stripper that is part of the Bear. It was a Bear family of products. There was a chemical stripper. There is a cleaner that is used after the stripping process.
But you didn't do any mechanical type of or wire brush or anything like that.
Did not do a wire brush, but we did use
a scrub brush type of
a brick brush or an acid
stiff
brush. Yeah, stiff brick.
Some people would call it a horsehair type
brush.
Yeah.
No. We did use an acid brush or 2, so that goes into the
with a handle where you could stand up.
We did some handling, and we did some just on our hands and knees.
Yeah.
I mean, there was quite a bit of prep work done before we ever started the painting process.
And how long did it take you to do the prep work before you ever started doing any paint application at all?
Two people total would probably have been 70 or 80 hours.
So this was not done.
Like I said, we've started this in the spring.
So
Okay. This was through the construction process.
Because you put all of this sweat equity into it,
And there was some sweating done.
what you got was the kind of job that you were hoping to get in the end, without there being, and you also had substantial savings. You used the very best product you felt like you could get, and you're going to have
Labor wasn't bad either. So
and you've got a job that, because I have a friend of mine who has done a lot of painting over the years. He's pretty much retired now, but he says the Bear paint, he says, if you do your prep right, he says, you won't ever have to paint again.
no, and
Now, this
yeah.
is probably the toughest application. Paint that you walk on or stain that you walk on that's the real test.
It's
That's
a traffic surface.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
So you're
carpets
gonna
are
have
gonna
wear.
Yeah, you're going to have wear, and we kept what's left of the last bucket. We've got it because it touches up very well as well. Now, because part of this process is the seasoning crack areas and some of the areas. Part of what they recommend you do before you roll the product on. We ended up hand brushing it because I live with a person who really likes
straight lines.
straight lines and nice and just perfect things are going on. You could have rolled this.
But she's not a perfectionist, though.
No.
She did marry you.
Well, she got one thing
There's
right in her life. But you go through and you actually pre-prep and you go with a brush and you fill some of these areas. So there's a lot of little. It looked like it had a rash for a bit before the rolling and brushing out process came along. Well, you mentioned the smooth. We chose smooth because we were not really into variegated surfaces or rough.
You like to get out there barefooted and walk on it, right?
Right, unless you got your Crocs on. Okay, but that's okay. They actually have there's a roller that they sell as part of the system that gives you extra texture. So it would almost look, didn't try
So
it
it
ourselves.
has more
but
of
I'm
a
gonna say
deeper pile in it than a normal texturing.
it wasn't just a regular 3/8 inch or half-inch snap roller that you use. And that's the other thing, folks. Use good brushes, use good rollers, and take your time. Like I said, it was about 70 or 80 hours worth of prep, and then the total paint service. If we had been able to use one color, it might have gone a little quicker, but we had to take every single one of those metal
Why would you want to
off.
do one color when you can do two, Josh?
Oh, come on. You have to have some contrast in your life.
Let's
don't you,
take
Nick?
just a minute, Josh, and talk about Earth Mix Garden Products.
Okay.
And we're a proud seller of those products here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. And if you're a gardening enthusiast, and you are,
I am.
you want to get the very best results out of what your efforts are. You want to be able to get it right, get it planted the first time. You don't want to have to spend a lot of time trying to figure out, have I done the right things to the soil?
It's prep work for your garden.
Yeah, and at Earth Mix Garden Products, the prep work's done for you. All you have to do is just open the bag and either mix it with your soil that you already have or plant directly into it, depending on which product that you use. And Earth Mix Garden Products are sustainably produced, 100% organic, and done so right here in Nashville, Tennessee. So right now, a lot of people are planting trees, shrubs in the yard. It doesn't matter if you're planting that or if you're planting pansies or any kind of fall color. Earth Mix Landscape is a great choice. Of course, Earth Mix Garden is a kind of the standard for a ready-to-use soil blend that you can put in right into the ground to plant into or other applications. So check out the entire line of products over on earthmix.net. And while you are there at earthmix.net, you can click over on the Find Earth Mix tab. And once you're there, you'll see that there are locations all over Middle Tennessee and Kentucky. I want to zoom in here just in the Middle Tennessee area to kind of give you an idea of just how many folks there are right here in the metropolitan Nashville area. So all you got to do is just point out any one of them. Red Wagon right there over in Josh's neighborhood over in Smyrna, South Branch Nursery. Mark Bates over in Brentwood, More and More Garden Center. Turnip Truck does have seasonal availability, and Gardens of Babylon, a lot of great JVI Secret Garden, just a few of those folks that are proud. We're really proud to have as sellers of Earth Mix Garden Products. And remember this, success in gardening begins at the ground level when you use Earth Mix Garden Products. And we appreciate your attention for just a moment on that. So thanks.
All righty, and Douglas Turchin says that he used the deck over about 5 years ago, and it still looks good. Thank you for that. I
Yeah,
appreciate
that's
that.
great information because, as you've already clearly stated, there's a lot of work that goes into.
I don't want to do it again in 5 years either, but I mean,
And you're hoping for at least 10, and the next time somebody else does it, right?
well, if the aluminum pond is still standing 10 years from now, it may
So
be.
that's the only purpose that the deck serves as the bridge between the domicile and the liquid refreshment area.
No, you don't have to go outside to get liquid refreshments at my house. I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, this is the time. We're in a time right now where outdoor entertaining has been done more this year. We've had
outdoor living has been a trend. We at the stick store have probably sold more cedar over the last few years than I can recall in my entire career having done before.
Part of the difficulty of the entire pandemic that we're going through globally is that you don't get to see the people that you enjoy getting to see and have dinner together. So we've had dinners outdoor, under the porte-cochere on the little attached thing to the house where the car drives.
The carport.
Yeah, it's not called a carport.
What's it called?
A porte-cochere.
Okay, good gesundheit.
So we've had dinners there. We've had it on the front porch, or a back area. If it's nice weather, we sit back there some. So
we've got room to socially distance on the deck,
Yeah.
and if you want to float in the pool, it's 30 feet across. So you can, as long as you stay in the right flow and got your noodle, you can push people around. If you wanted to.
I suspect, Josh, you keep noodles around just for your everyday use.
They become quite an accessory to have. I mean, you use them for spacers. You can use them for padding between layers of stuff in the basement. I mean, if you think about them, if you need a good place to run a rope through or a tie down.
And they're almost indestructible. Almost.
They're clogging landfills all over the planet, I'm sure. So I mean, they are there, but you can get them for $1 at the dollar store and or other places around. So you can make all kinds of good stuff. You can make floaties out of them. I mean, you can make jugs. I mean, I've seen all kinds of uses for those. Our good friend Bill Hayes is wondering a question here and he's commented on the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates Facebook page. And Bill wants to know, would winter wheat be a good seed to put down in the woods along the side of new trails?
But certainly won't hurt. Now, as the name
for soil erosion, I think is what he's worried about.
You can use that. And
I'd probably just use rye, wouldn't you? Wouldn't it work
if soil erosion is your primary or maybe your singular point of interest, it's a lot easier to deal with. It's going to not get quite so tall. Maybe you want that taller growth habit that winter wheat will give.
I think he sent Michael a picture, or we're going to start calling him Moose around here again.
Call me whatever you want.
Did you want to put that up?
Yeah, let's put this up because it's got my good friend. It's got my peppermint patty girlfriend up here.
Oh,
he said he was ready to get
area that looks like he's cleared, and until he gets put the concrete on it. I think that's probably.
Yeah. Well, he is a guy that has power equipment.
Yeah,
He says he's ready to sling some mud was the caption he sent with that.
Okay, but that may be those areas where he looks like it's cleared there up to the bank, and having seen several other of his pictures, and Peppermint Patty likes to ride in that. Not bad.
That's probably is her vehicle that she allows.
She can't reach.
She allows Bill to drive her around.
Well, she can't reach the pedals. In other words, so, I mean that's okay. But any kind of ground cover. I mean, would maybe some crown vetch or something like that go on?
Yeah, it's. You can still put crown vetch out right now. And the deal with crown vetch is that it's not intended to ever be mowed. It is.
I don't know that would bother him either.
Well, no, but if you're a person who likes to mow grassy type areas,
like Yard Boy,
yes, it'll just kill it. So it must be left. It needs to be left up at least 18 inches tall. So mostly where you see it, it's used a lot in rural highway settings where they've gone along the
Well,
interstate.
he's not exactly urban where
No,
he's
that's
at.
true. But I don't know what his intent is. I wouldn't use Crown Vetch if I were going to be trying to keep it mowed. It has a nice look to it, and it does make a great vegetative cover. But and it's almost maintenance free, so you can do. Do you have another shot you want to put up there?
No. I was just looking at one that was rolling up there. We had a comment from a Jocelyn Bates. You may know her.
Yes.
Okay. Jocelyn.
cousin.
Yeah, she is auctioning off 15.9 acre organically treated farm in Orlinda, Tennessee, on October 17th, and people can contact her for more info if you'd like.
Well,
And the number's there on the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates.
well,
Facebook
very
page.
good. Well, that's and of course that's Martha Ann's mom.
Oh, okay.
Of daughter, rather. Martha Ann is her mom, I should
Oh,
say.
okay. Okay.
So, well, I hope that goes well for them. So.
Yep. But Orlinda's a great town.
It's 615-499-6690. We didn't mention it, but
What?
if you want to share our little Facebook feed here, we certainly would be happy for you to do that. We'd appreciate it. Also, if you're happen to be watching us on YouTube, you can share us there. You can also subscribe while you're there, and you'll get weekly reminders when we come on the air. And we're here every Saturday morning from 8 until 9 a.m. Central Time. So feel free to tune in live or check us out during the week at your convenience. You know, schedule is busy. We also, thanks to Michael, also have a podcast up and available wherever you get your podcast information. The At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates
Comes right up.
Soon to be on Amazon Music and Audible as well.
All right.
Boy, that's the kind of publicity that could make somebody.
Could be.
Could be. Oh, 2020 is a strange year, David Bates.
It has proven to be such, and you know we've still got a quarter of it to go, or less than a quarter of it now. But it's
At least it feels good outside.
it does feel nice, and we've had we are getting some much needed rain. I have noticed a lot of people prior to this rain coming through in this past week. Those of us who work outdoors that are kind of subject to the dust have all kind of had a little bit of respiratory distress because it's just been really dusty. So we're
been a
really
little
glad to
pollen
get this
floating
rain.
too.
Hopefully we don't get rain to the magnitude that's going to cause extreme flooding. But you should be aware that that's a possibility. And as we take a quick look again at the radar out there, you can see that's already moving on into the area. It will not be a long time before it gets here into the middle Tennessee. So if you're going to get out and do some things this morning, there are some breaks in the precipitation this morning, but those are going to become few and far between here pretty quickly. If you're going to get out and do some things, suggest you bring your rain gear and an umbrella. And, if you're coming out to see us here at Bates Nursery, of course, we'd love to see you. And we're certainly be glad to help you to get your things. If I try to get to the correct screen here in just a moment. But as we move through the spring and season and through summer and now into fall, we are always trying to help you get everything going on in your landscape. And I'll eventually get to the right page here. This is last week's article, Extra Crazy with Cheese.
Well, you like to run.
Well,
You were talking
I
about
used to be a runner.
a jogger.
I was actually a fairly competitive runner. I will say this: in the it was the 2006 Nashville
Music City
Marathon. I ran the half marathon. I finished 10th in my age group and 200,
jogging real fast.
293rd overall out of 15,000 people. So I felt like I ran that
You
day.
didn't beat the
Kenyans, I beat them, but they were running the marathon.
Okay.
I only ran the half, and I only beat them by about maybe 10 minutes.
Okay.
So yeah, they are real runners. It just felt like running to me. But coming out and see us at Bates Nursery and Garden Center, everything you're looking for with respect to your garden, your landscape, whatever you've got going on, we're here to help you figure out how to get the right plants in the right place the first time. You know, we're not into what I call drive-by landscaping. And it's very easy to impulsively buy something that attracts you, but without a plan in place, you tend to not buy correctly. So we really strongly suggest you take some photographs with your smartphone or tablet, bring those along with you, and we'll look at your unique landscape situation and help make those recommendations. If it's a garden hydrangea on the east side of the house, or maybe a Japanese maple, that's another good choice for that setting. Our staff here is full of horticultural experts, and all having worked many, many years in the industry. So we don't do anything else. This is what we do. So we're going to get you good information. We're going to help you to have success. And in order to do that, one of the things we offer is Earth Mix Garden products. Right now, if you're a Bates Rewards member, and why wouldn't you be? It is free after all. Mm-hmm. And as a Bates Rewards member, you get my little blog that comes out every week, which talked about this little running event. I was running, and
he was jogging.
And
got hit by a car.
The car did
great.
touch me.
You guys have got to go. You've got to sign up. It's worth it. I mean, it's amazing.
Anyway, Earth Mix Landscape is on sale for our Bates Rewards members, so make sure and check that out. Savings of about $4
$4 a bag. That's amazing.
So anyway, come check that out at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. And if you want to read my little blog, well, you just go to batesnursery.com and you can scroll down to the very bottom and you'll see right there where it says it's a pretty good deal.
It is.
And you can check that out. And if you want to get the newsletter, you can sign up while you're right there on the website. And we do not share your information with anyone. Mm-hmm. So you can rest assured of that. And if at any time you decide you no longer want to be subscribed, there are unsubscribe links top and bottom on the newsletter. You can just unsubscribe. So thanks for paying attention to that, and we appreciate you being a part of the Bates Nursery and Garden Center family. And we're conveniently located a mile north of Briley Parkway at exit 19 on Whites Creek Pike. It's just minutes from Rivergate, Opry Mills, Nashville West. Downtown Nashville. It's worth the drive from anywhere. We've been beautifying Nashville since 1932, and we're open 9 until 4 o'clock Monday through Saturday, noon until 4 on Sunday. Bates Nursery and Garden Center, and appreciate your attention on that little segment there.
I was paying attention.
I know you were, but anyway, this little running thing or jogging, as Josh says, actually,
it's really fast jogging is what he's doing.
At this point, I actually was jogging because I had quit running. My good friend, Tom King, the late, great Tom King, who was the godfather of running in Middle Tennessee, I asked Tom at one point in time, I said, and Tom was 20 years older than I was at the time, and I said, Tom, how old were you when you quit running? And I was probably 57 at this time. He says, about 70. He says, about 10 years longer than I should have. So I kind of made a mental note of that. So as I approached 60 and my knees were sore, I decided, I'm going to quit running. But, I really loved to run. I really enjoyed it. And I started riding bicycles more and doing elliptical. And I just, it just didn't quite do it for me, so I thought, well, I'm going to kind of work myself slowly and kind of see if I can run a little easier. Well, this one particular morning, and I'm an early morning riser, so I do have some ultra reflective gear that I wear, including this Sukhoi jacket that looks like it's electric. It looks like it's turned on when
you could wear it to the Opry.
It's very, very bright. Okay. So anyway. I was running across a crosswalk, and the car stopped. There's 2 lanes wide, and as customarily, I kind of threw my hand up as I'm passing the first car. Mm-hmm. As I'm approaching the second car, it takes off, and I'm already committed in mid-stride, and I'm trying to stop, and I can't stop, and I fall right in the middle of the crosswalk, and the car's accelerating, and I thought, well, I did not even feel excited. I just kind of felt acceptance, like,
snap!
This is it. I'm done. And I felt the car, hit me. And the next thing I know, I'm standing up, and whenever you're in a situation where time becomes dilated, there were vehicles sitting at the intersection. I had a sense of people looking at me, and the exhaust was coming up out of the vehicles, but it didn't appear to be rising. It was just sitting there.
This was in the 70s?
This was 4 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
And I looked down underneath the car that had hit me, expecting to see myself dead under the car. Seriously,
One of those moments. Okay.
I mean,
saw the light at the end of the
I
tunnel.
looked down to see me on the ground, and I wasn't there. Then I looked down at my knees and my elbows, and they were bleeding. And I thought, all right. And whoever was driving the car, just took off. They didn't roll down the window. How you doing? Nothing.
Really? Hit and run.
They would have left without any windshield wipers had this happened to me.
So, I was just kind of happy to be alive.
Well,
I'll just tell you. So I finished my run, and that was my last run. So.
I was about to say, though, Josh, it takes a minute to pick yourself up off the road.
Well, it sounds like, again, it does. But, I mean, it would have been on the hood. I mean, just
maybe.
Because when I hurt, I get mad when I get hurt. I don't know about you.
Well, when you start jogging, Josh, we'll see how you deal with it.
We'll just see if that happens in this world.
Hey,
Okay.
we could send you out in the parking lot, and then we could just try to do donuts, see how close we could get to you, and see if we can clip you instead of just full out hitting you.
Can we get the Mevo out there?
I don't want to be the one to do it.
Huh?
Oops.
Chicken?
Oops,
Chicken?
Josh.
615-499-6690. We alluded to it in the beginning of the program. The world lost another icon this week.
Oh,
David
absolutely. I don't know if it's too strong a statement to say that he's the guy who saved rock and roll, but certainly he was a guy who
innovated it.
He innovated it, and he took rock and roll to a level that no one considered. He actually owned a number of patents on inventions.
Smart guy.
Really smart guy.
Edward Van Halen, by the way.
Didn't speak English when he moved to the U.S. as a kid. Didn't speak English at all. So
Where was he from originally?
Holland.
Holland.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Holland. Van Halen.
Van Halen, yeah.
I can remember, and again, he passed at the age of 65.
Right.
And
Was it commonly known that he'd had cancer, or was this another one of these things where they kind of hit it till the end?
Let's go back. The At Home Show was billed as heavy metal landscaping and home improvement. Back in other lifetimes, we've been able to play copyrighted music, and there were several of the.
We can't do that anymore.
Can't do it anymore
Nah.
because we're not paying licensing fees, and that's okay. But I mean, we don't want to.
Radio stations were willing to do that or already had paid it. So.
Yeah. So, but I can remember 1210 Dogwood Lane, Wilson, North Carolina. My best friend, he leans out at the front door and he says, "Come here." Sat right across the street. He said, "Come here." I'm busy. Come here. He had the stereo with the speakers that were on either side of the thing with all the component speakers and the preamp and everything. He had Van Halen 1, and I don't know how long he'd been there. This was later in the afternoon. I bet he'd listened to that album already 10 times. And he says, "You got to come here." And he turned it on, and we listened to it 4 times. Side A, side B, over and
Just
over.
flip it back, flip it over, flip it back.
Again, it's one of those moments that you can remember. Where were you when John Kennedy was shot? Where were you when the Challenger exploded? Those kind of things. I do remember that just as clear as day. And rock and roll changed after that, in my mind.
Yeah, well, the first time I saw Van Halen was in 1978. I was actually going to see the Rolling Stones in the Superdome. And the Rolling Stones were had an opening act. It's not unusual for bands. The Doobie Brothers were the opening act. And then, oh, by the way, there's this other little opening act called Van Halen that nobody really knew much about, except that when they got up there, you can never watch the guitar player because he turned his back when he was playing. And you go, well, what's that all about? So, he didn't want to give away his secrets of how he was doing all of the techniques early on in his career. So,
Well, he didn't.
See, he pulled a Robert Johnson.
Well, see, he didn't.
Yes.
No, he didn't. He didn't sell his soul. I don't.
No,
think
well,
so.
no, it's that's not what I mean. What I mean is it was widely reported that if Robert Johnson played like while he was recording his albums and stuff, he would have his back to everybody so they could watch how he did it.
That's because he sold his soul, and he didn't want. He had that devil made up. Devil Madonna. It's a different thing. But no, Eddie. He. There were several. I've watched several things that have gone through, and he was such an innovator. When you have other icons that just universally say he's a nice guy and a genius.
There's a really good interview that I watched a while back of him on YouTube, and I don't remember who the interviewer was. It's about an hour long. You might search that out and watch it if you're into Eddie Van Halen. It was
Or Van Halen as a whole, whether it's the first edition, the second edition, or the third
Well, he
edition
kind
or
of
the
covers
fourth.
all of the historical stuff, plus all of his inventions and his whole.
Frankenstrat.
He was quite an amazing guy, and to be a rock and roller.
And Valerie
And to have
Bertinelli.
actually lived to be
Yes.
65, that's no small feat.
Well, and they partied hard too. I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
yes,
Now, Eddie, as I understand, got sober perhaps the last 12 years or so, which undoubtedly gave him the opportunity to get to live to 65.
Well, and to be able to, last time I saw them was at the Bridgestone Arena. And it was the tour that David Lee Roth had come back, and he had his brother and his son playing.
Right.
And to have a young man that's 18 or 19 years old holding his own with two of the very best that have ever played the drums and or the guitar,
Right.
because we forget about Alex in this thing, and Michael Anthony and the other people that were involved in the band.
But you were really a Van Hagar guy, though, weren't you? Were you more of a?
Yes.
I mean, certainly Sammy Hagar.
I like
Vocal-
that.
He has a much better vocal ability.
He didn't. Well, I mean, David Lee Roth was the definitive LSD attributed lead singer's disease. I think he was eat up with it, but again, all the songs were great. They were just different. But I did prefer the Van Hagar. And the greatest rock and roll show that's ever been in Nashville was Van Hagar. That was the first time that they had toured, and I think we were their third tour stop. So they had gotten through in Atlanta with 2 days of practice, and then when they blew it out, oh, what a night!
A young Eddie Van Halen. I'm looking at some of the pictures here. He puts me in the mind of Coyote McLeod.
Well,
They kind of have a similar look.
Well, perhaps, of course, Cody McLeod was another guy who was a wonderfully talented guy, and I never heard anybody ever say anything but nice things about
Oh,
him.
he was awesome, dude. The one time I met him. So
Yep, but 2020 sucks. So
Well,
lost a guy from the Peppers too this week, and some other people and the singers too. So I guess there's one certainty in life, David Bates. What's that? We're all not going to get out alive at one point in time.
So far, it's a 100% attrition rate by all. So maybe you will be the exception, Josh. Could happen.
Well, Eddie Van Halen, and the nice thing about the icons and the famous people in this world is that they will live forever in their music, and they will be playing. They drop it in a time capsule in 2,000 years from now. Somebody will go, "Daggone, I got a finger tap." I mean, and see what's going on with it. So, a lot of great tunes, not beyond the hits, but we digress. We need to tour the green room, David, quickly.
Well, we've got as I already mentioned, the winter tour via Burnham's, which is
Cool.
that winter tour is Winter THUR, by the way, which is named after a town. Winter tour. So we've got some other IKEA back here. These are, I believe,
Do you
little.
have to put those together? Always have the parts.
No, that's IKEA, Josh.
Okay.
IKEA, which are, I believe that's Little Henry. We've got some variegated Wigelia there. We've got some ornamental grasses tucked on the ends, and also some
I love
black.
the poofy flowers. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got some black and the name is escaping me for the moment. Black. It's a black grass.
Possum?
Not possum.
Not
I'm pretty
possum?
sure. We've got some heucheras down front. Those are all, I think, nearby. I can't actually see them from my vantage point, but they are nearby the pumpkins down there. And Japanese maple, I believe that's a Sharp's pygmy on the end, which is a very good, truly dwarf Japanese maple. I actually have a hedge of those under a window on the north side of my house. Now, this window is about 5 feet tall, and we trim it once a year, and we're able
It's
to
5
keep.
feet above the ground.
Yes.
It's probably taller than 5 feet.
Yes.
Okay. I've seen it. I know which window you're talking about.
The window,
Now,
I'll tell you off the bottom of the
Now,
ground.
you have several of these down the aisleway toward the garden center, I believe, that are a little taller. And that seems to be the same variety down there.
That
Big, a
could
little
well
bit
be
bigger
true.
than that.
And, of course, there's a great number of different unusual items that come from Isley Nursery. We're always grateful to get to display their wares along with other fine growers around the country. So, if you're looking for unusual things, or if you're looking for just the everyday stuff, we got all that here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center.
Got gourds?
We don't have gourds. We've got.
What's that?
Well, that's actually a type of pumpkin.
Oh, is it a type of pumpkin?
I
Isn't a
believe so.
pumpkin a type of gourd?
Yes. So anyway,
Better watch out.
so I mean,
get you.
technically.
Well,
So, but we do
the
have
albino ones that you
you know-
have up there in front of the garden center was what I really wanted. I actually snuck one off the display up front and brought that one out here. But the albino ones that you have up there,
white ones, yeah.
yeah, they've got some big ones, man.
Stackable ones, yeah.
And you've
those
got
are-
the little squatty ones out there too.
Yep, those are the ones that people tend to stack, not the round ones. The round ones, when you stack them, they tend to fall.
Well, if you had 3 white ones, it would look like a snowman. It's not it's the wrong season for that, isn't it?
Yeah, you'd have to. Yes,
Get a dowel,
you'd have
piece
to
of
put some
rebar.
2x4s or something to hold it up.
Maybe maybe a noodle.
You just need to work on that when you go home, Josh, and see what you can come up with. I think that
Noodle stacking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that would give you something that would be, I think, a good use of your time.
Well, it's going to rain today. I have to make a birthday cake today, David Bates.
And for whom?
My lovely bride.
Well,
I've never made a birthday cake before, ladies and gentlemen.
this may be a one and done kind of deal, huh?
Well, I have to follow up last year's gift.
I was going to say, did you get her more fertilizer?
No, I did not renew the Fertilizer of the Month Club.
This may not redeem you from that gift. And those of you who don't know, Josh, thoughtful guy that he is, got a seed and aeration job done at their house for Diana for her birthday.
Yes.
Now, don't you know that was received with open arms? And
I mean, a 50
romance around there.
he
fertilizer.
is the ultimate hopeless
She
romantic.
got to meet the yard boy.
I don't think that helps.
Yeah, okay.
He did describe the look on her face as that he's still cold from the frozen stare that she.
Didn't you say that your daughters were also giving you a hard time about this for a while?
Oh, there was one daughter that was involved in that she was supposed to get a fruit tray or something, and that didn't happen and didn't order. So I mean, we ended up working. We had to work around. It was thinking on your feet. You try to do what you can as you go along. With it.
What I'm saying though is what I remember is your wife was giving Yard Boy an icy stare, and your daughters were doing the same thing.
Well, there was only one daughter there, and yes, she can freeze them too. I mean, she can stop them in their tracks. So,
Well, as you see, folks, we got rain heading into the area. So get your rain gear, take your umbrella, galoshes, whatever you need to do. Get out and about today to enjoy the day, or just do some serious planning.
hunker down, get it going, close the windows, make sure the skylight's locked. Everything's going to be great because just want you to be safe if you're traveling. Just because we want you here next Saturday morning for another edition of the.
I'm going
At
to be
Home.
here. How about you?
I'm going to try to be here.
I'll be here.
Oh,
We're
great.
going to be here.
Good deal.
I want to thank everybody in the production crew for doing a great job as always, and invite you back to the show next Saturday morning. It'll be live here on Facebook. Please go out there and like the Facebook page, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go out to LinkedIn. Start hitting us on LinkedIn because there's a page out there as well for us, and follow Bates Nursery and Earth Mix out there as well. For everybody here, my name's Josh Cary.